Let's talk about the new film Eddington, directed by Ari Aster, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone, Micheal Ward, and Austin Butler. This is a movie I was so excited to watch. I really love all of Aster's work. I even love Beau is Afraid. And this was a film out of Cannes that was receiving a ton of divisive opinions. Some people hated it, some people loved it. Others called it a new Western classic, which I do think that is the case. Others said it was tone deaf, which I can sort of see what people are saying there, but let's just get into my review and my thoughts on it. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We're on the road to 50,000 subscribers. We have a review for Sorry Baby, another A24 movie coming out tonight, so stay tuned for that. Let's get into Eddington. So Eddington takes place during the pandemic, early stages 2020, late May, and a lot of the events that followed, which we'll brush up here in a bit, but I'll talk more about them in a spoiler video tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But this film pits Joaquin Phoenix's Joe Cross against Ted Garcia, played by Pedro Pascal, in a mayoral race for Eddington, a small town in New Mexico, where the pandemic has sort of started to shift how people view one another. And in this small town, we see that people don't necessarily want to follow protocol and others do, and it starts pitting people against each other, which is nothing new of what we saw during those stages of the pandemic, and we still continue to see a little bit of it today. Ari Aster talks about how he felt during this time when he was writing this script that we were entering a new frontier, and I truly agree that we were. We were reaching a point of no return, and here we are. Now, in the film, you sort of start to see how this firecracker in a bottle is what I'd like to say, that has been ignited, and you're just waiting it and waiting for it to eventually blow and shatter everything. And what I thought this film did very well is do that just there. This movie really takes its time. It is a slow burn of a film that eventually, once that firecracker blows, it blows, and everything just starts to shatter, destruction back and forth, and you're just there with your mouth open wondering, how the hell did this all happen? Now, before we get into more of that, I want to talk about what I think is definitely where a lot of people are going to be lost with this movie, or feel that the movie is just tone deaf, and that's with the mirror of our own reality. And that's a problem, I think, with any film. When you try to talk about things in real life or situations that happen, this movie specifically really focuses and hones in on the end of May into the summer of 2020. This movie talks about the pandemic, it talks about George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter movement, and a lot of other things that were happening at the time. And that's a very tricky area to explore things in. I think it just runs the risk of coming out tone deaf, which I think the message is clear. I think I know what Aster is trying to say here, but I think the delivery is a little bit sloppy at times, and it can get lost, and at moments it feels like Aster's reaching a conclusion, but then he really wants to jump into another hot topic of the time, and that's when the rest of the build up to whatever he was trying to say is like, okay, we were coming to something, you were getting somewhere with all of this, but you just want to move on to the next hot topic. And I think that's my only problem with the film, is I feel a lot of what he's trying to do with those social commentary and aspects of the film is sort of lost, and it's just there to sort of poke. It can be there to start conversation as well. Maybe that's what Aster was entailing, but it didn't come off across to me like that. I feel like he really was trying to just maybe provoke. I think that's okay to do as well. It's his art, and if he wants to provoke and start conversations, so be it. But I think that there is a better way to handle that, and that's by maybe getting down on some of the things he was talking about and just focusing on maybe one or two hot key issues. And although he doesn't need to do that, I think, because the story in itself is really amazing, honestly. The story of Joe Cross and Ted Garcia's mayoral race in Eddington is really good. The build up to it is amazing and fascinating as well. This has the absurdity and surreal aspects that Aster's films have, and even at points the horror is present throughout here. There are some of the most horrific images I think Aster has brought to life on screen in that last third act, and I think he really continues to have an essence to all of his movies, from Hereditary, Midsommar, Beau is Afraid, and now Eddington, and I think that truly is showcased in this movie a lot. All of those themes he has explored in those movies as well. Emma Stone, Micheal Ward, and Austin Butler are great here. They don't get as much time to shine, of course, as Joaquin Phoenix, who is the center role, and also Pedro Pascal, but they really do an amazing job at presenting various different, sort of magnifying glasses onto what was going on in America, with paranoia, with hysteria, with sort of finding out that the systems all around us that we grew up in or around are definitely going to let you down at some point, and really going to make you spiral or just blow up in your face. case, and I thought that that was such an interesting aspect of it, especially Emma Stone's fall into conspiracies and into false prophets and grifters, and Austin Butler sort of latching onto that and using that as a rise to power as well, which we continue to see today. There are so many people online that have the answers or that know where we should go as a society and use that to sort of take from people that are more vulnerable. And we see it throughout our day to day, especially with social media and everybody having a larger online presence than maybe, let's say, 5-10 years ago. I think Michael Ward's portrayal here of Michael, somebody who is a deputy and realizing that they don't really know where they might stand or where they should stand, really is a great way to showcase a lot of feelings that many people might have today as well, with the way that things are moving. And that's something I'm going to get deeper into my ending explain. This is just my review, but I just wanted to talk about those performances because these actors were amazing. And of course, Joaquin Phoenix and Pedro Pascal are front and center. And although I do feel that Pedro Pascal was a little bit sidelined more than I expected him to be in this movie, I thought every moment he had was really greatly delivered. And I think he is continuing to showcase why he is a leading man. Joaquin Phoenix, of course, is who you spend the majority of the film with. And I love that Aster really is trying to push you in a way where you're questioning everything as to how you should even feel about this character and why would you even follow him. And Aster at the end of this film in those last 10-20 minutes asks a lot of the audience with Joe Cross. And I think that's great. I think it's great to make you feel uncomfortable and to make you question everything you were thinking up until that point and ask yourself, why do I feel like this for this character? They're so despicable and all of this, but at the same time, I can't help but to feel for them as well. And I thought that's something amazingly done here by Aster with the script in itself, although the script does get self-indulgent and it loses itself sometimes with trying to sort of talk about these real life issues that happened. I think when it comes back to its core of this film about a mayoral race between a sheriff and the mayor, this movie really is a solid movie. So overall, I'm everywhere with this movie, but I think if you're a fan of Aster, I think if you're ready to see a film of what happened in 2020 from the lens of Aster, this is definitely a movie to watch. This movie, I don't think should be skipped. I think it definitely is a must-see of 2025 in my opinion. It is very much so in line with Aster's previous work, so if you're a little squeamish or if you get a little bit frightened, you're definitely going to get it here. And I just think it is one of the most important movies to watch because I think that Aster bringing up these old conversations and really poking at them is great to start the conversation, because I don't think the conversation should have ended around a lot of these things. Overall, I think the movie really lacks in its social commentary because it is trying to deliver a message, but the delivery can be fumbled or it can be very shaky. I think if it was polished a little bit more and he just focused on certain key issues and not try to do everything at the same time, it would have been a lot stronger. But the story of Joe Cross and Ted Garcia is so interesting. It's so beautifully paced as well. By the time that it reaches its boiling point, you're there gasping. I'm telling you, there's a moment in this film where everything completely turns and it takes a sharp left and everybody in my theater just lost it, gasped, and were just like in silence because that moment truly hit hard. And I think it all worked just because of that buildup, the film making you let your guard down with its absurdity, its silliness that happens, and then being like, no, this is real, this is fucking real, and this is what's happening right now. And I thought that that was just a really clever move from Ari Aster. So like I said, this movie, it drops the ball with its messaging, the way it wants to deliver it, with trying to talk about real life situations, which I don't think a movie should ever really do. I think that it's very tricky and almost impossible to sort of have any nuance when you're trying to cover it like that, especially with a movie that's supposed to be like fictional, but it has real life situations. It's just hard to come across in a way that it works, I think. But I think the movie really is a solid movie, one of the best of the year for sure. The story of Joe Cross and Ted Garcia is truly insane, and you have to watch it to believe it how this one ends, because it just ends on such a dark note. And I think that that may just be how Ari Aster views the state of the nation as well. But truly love this movie. I think it's great and worth watching if you're an Aster fan, if you're a fan of Joaquin, if you're a fan of a Western type film. I think you definitely are going to hear a lot of people discussing the tone deafness of some of the things Aster decides to cover in this film. It's there, but I don't think it really makes up the whole movie, because I think at the end the story is that much more stronger and really carries the movie through, especially the performances from all of the actors. So that's all I'll say about Eddington for now. Stay tuned for my spoiler review tomorrow, but I definitely will be catching this one again to catch up on some things I didn't really pick up the first time watching it, because there is a lot. But as always, that's going to do it for me. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification. We're on the road to 50,000 subscribers, less than 8,000 to go. Super excited about that. And I'll see all of you next time. Stay safe, stay positive.